Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite apps. It's called iBook. And if I go in my books folder, iBooks is right there. iBooks is the Apple's version of the e-reader. You have obviously the Nook, the Kindle, and you can get those apps for the iPad as well. But this is a free app from Apple, and this is a very important app, and this is a big reason why people buy the iPad, so they can read books. Now I have here The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. What a lot of people don't realize is some of the really old classics are copyright free, so it doesn't cost anything. I downloaded this. It didn't cost anything to buy. It just downloaded it. It's free. And I click on it. And let's slowly go through the features of navigating through iBooks. Down at the bottom, if I put my finger on it, it says the page number, and will tell me, it gives me ranges of pages and tells me what's going on, the chapter, so I can pick exactly where I'm going. Up here, the A and little a, this is for font. The brightness. Some people maybe need really bright, maybe some people that hurts their eyes. And you really got to use the touching these. See, if you don't do it the right way, you immediately lose what you're doing. Like, you literally have to practice this. And after a while it becomes very intuitive and you don't have to do it anymore. So there it's back. See the font changing? It's getting smaller and obviously the font getting larger. You don't have to use those reading glasses if you have trouble reading small font. You can change the type of font. Some people, the type of font that they read makes a huge difference. Some people don't seem to notice, but it's nice to know that you have different fonts that are popular to read with, to choose from. Then they have themes. There's normal, there's night. Some people read better with a black background and white text. Normally we're used to the opposite, but it hurts your eyes less because there's less light coming directly at you when you have a black background and white text. Then there's this one. And this more kind of looks like a normal book. You see the normal one is bright, and this view you can see is kind of beige. It more gives the look of an actual book. And then they have the full screen mode. It's off, it goes on, and then it covers the whole screen. And that's a preference thing. There's no right or wrong. So I'm going to leave it like this so it looks like a book. The next thing is a search feature. See how easy it is? Like, see how I turn the page? It doesn't take much to turn a page. The slight gesture can change what you're doing with this. So it's literally, you have to sit with this and practice. It's not about knowing what to do, but exactly how to do it. So I'll look at the word Tom, and I'll search through the entire text to find any time the name Tom is in there. And I'll look at the word Huck. And it'll go through every instance. So if there's a word that's used a couple times that you want to talk about, you can search and find where it is, and that's Huck's father. We could go to that page right there. Now you can bookmark it by clicking on that. It gives you a bookmark, and to click off it, you go like that. And if I open the book again, it will immediately open to the last page I'm at. So if I shut this, it will immediately open to the same page. So if I click off of this, when I go back to it, it'll immediately go back to the exact same page. That's what it's set to do. To go to the table of contents is here. There we go, table of contents. And then I can email or print notes. Okay, I can go to different sections of the book. Let me go back to the table of contents. They have bookmarks, so if you have multiple bookmarks, they'll tell you. Notes, if you have notes, they'll give you whatever notes. These are things that I've highlighted, and the color I've highlighted them. You can have each color mean something different to you. So that's something that's very important, that it keeps the notes. Each individual book can have its own separate set of notes and its own separate set of highlights. So the book that the teacher has that might use the board that they might connect to the projector would be different than the notes that the student would have. It could be individual for each student. Okay, so let's go back to the text, and let me pick a spot in here. And now what I want to do is there's one way to highlight, and there's one way where you're highlighting, you're making the text yellow or purple or whatever color you're making it. And there's another way where we highlight it for a specific purpose. So let me just click on the first word. See, it's highlighting it for the colors. So I could do that, and I'm going to tell it not to. And let's see if I can get it to. Okay. Now it highlighted the word, and you see it's giving me different options. There's speak, there's copy, there's define, there's highlight, there's note, there's search. Now, sometimes it just says speak. If I click somewhere else and I ignore this, then it tends a lot of times when I click on it, just go immediately to speak. And there's a little tiny things you got to get used to doing. So you can go to copy it. I'm going to put the word note. I'm going to put the word note here. I'll just write the word note, N-O-T-E. And that note will stay. And there's a note over here. Now when I come back, I can click on it and it'll go note. Now I highlight it again. I can also exit to define it. And then you can go to Wikipedia. I know librarians don't like Wikipedia because it's very difficult to cite. However, Wikipedia often has things that explain in simplest terms. Sometimes a very starting point, if you know nothing about a subject, it can be a starting point, but you can't cite Wikipedia, and I've had that conversation. But you can go to it if you wanted information, or you could search the web, and it'll give you Outrun. Of course, what's the first one? Wikipedia, which I know if you talk to librarians, they don't like it because you can never cite Wikipedia because you really don't know who wrote it. But sometimes understand what something is. It's okay. All right, so let me go back to Word. Now you see the little handles on it? Well, I could copy it. That's something we haven't done yet. But I'm going to go see when I move my finger, you see how it highlights it? Some people this helps them to read. And some people need the text to be a little bigger. You can manually make the text bigger if that's an issue. So I'm going to drag all the way down to there. Now people, when they talk about having it read to them, that the Kindle Fire was the best one for this. And at one point, I think that was agreed upon. And it depends which version of the Kindle Fire you get. Some are good at, some read it and some don't. So you have to be very careful and specific which version you buy so that it'll read it to you. But what most people don't realize is that iBooks will read it to you. You just have to know how.
Outrun, and most of the time I didn't want to go to school much before, but I reckoned I'd go now to spite Pap. That law trial was a slow business. Appeared like they weren't ever going to get started on it, so every now and then I borrowed $2 or $3 off of the judge for him, to keep from getting a cow hiding every time he go.
Okay, now the reading voice isn't perfect, but you can understand what they're saying. And if someone plugged in headphones, because there are headphones that go in here, you could listen to it, and you could understand what's being said. If there was a particular passage or word you couldn't read, you could define the word. You could highlight the word. You could put notes of what the definition is. And then you could have it read it to you. So you can understand the context of the word. So this is a very powerful tool. And to turn the pages, we simply go like that. You turn the page. And to get the menu bar back, you got to touch up here. And you really have to practice this. So let's try making the font bigger. There we go. Now the font's really big. I think we can go a little smaller than that. Okay, then I'll click off it. And then let's click on a word. And so you got to get used to dragging these handles. And now it's just giving me one choice. Oop, lost it again. Drag the handles. So you need a little patience when you're first starting with this. It's not about knowledge, it's about having the patience.
Pap was pretty careful not to leave a knife or anything in the cabin when he was away. I reckon I had hunted the place over as much as 100 times. Well, I was most all the time at it, because it was about the only way to put in the time, but this time I found something at last. I found an old rusty wood saw without any handle. It was laid in between a...
Okay, so you get the idea, but you see you can read it without the highlights, you can read it with the highlights. And you notice that time it only asks me to speak. In the beginning it usually asks me all the things, and then when you stop doing it, a lot of times it'll just ask you to have it speak. So if I click and drag, see, I can just highlight it. If you kind of, it's like a little bit more pressure, and it's more of a clicking and dragging, it's a little bit more pressure, and you tend to get that. Then it'll ask you what color do you want, and I can pick whatever color I want. or I could pick underline if you want the more traditional thing, and you can click on that, and you could put a note in. I'll just write the word note. And return. And to get rid of the keyboard is this. Some people will forget that. I mean, you can do that as well. And then you have the note. And then you can turn the page. So literally with this, you have to sit and practice. And it's not about how good you are at computers. It's about the hand gestures and then how well you can apply this to the subject. Because with this, you can pick out the words that are important. You can have them highlight what's important to keep it for later. And at the end, you can have them go all the way back to the beginning, and they could look at the notes that they've taken, and they can use that information to better understand the book. So you can have them take notes, then you can go back to those things. See, now when you go to a new page, it always does this to me. It always gives me do you want to highlight it? Do you want to note? Do you want to search? Do you want to define? Do you want to copy? So, and then you have to get used to dragging these across. But after I do it a couple times, it usually stops giving me that. Nope. Cancel. Nope. See, now it only gives me one. But if I go to a new page, and I've learned this, it's much more likely to give me the whole, now it'll give me the whole menu bar. So it's one of those things where sometimes, Steve, if you want that whole menu bar, you have to go off the page and then back again, which is not intuitive. But like again, this is about having the patience. But what this can help you do is go beyond just talking about the themes and foreshadowing the plot. You can focus on some of the specific vocabulary, and you can teach them to take good notes while they're reading so that they can go back and try to re-put those little notes, those little pieces together to try to see the big picture with the details. So this is a very, very powerful app. And when I go into the bookstore, library, you can go to collections. I can go to the store. And if you're searching for classics, like I searched Tom Sawyer, you can see, like this one's, that one's free. There's more than one version of it because it's copyright free. Adventures of Tom Sawyer Part 6. Say if I wanted that one, I could click on it, I could get the book, and it would download it. And obviously I have to type in my password, and then it would be a part of my collection. And that's it. And when you consider that most of the classics, the works that we would consider classics, or maybe even close to all of them, are free because they were before copyright law was established, this becomes a very powerful tool for every English class. This is John O'Sullivan. Thank you.